Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Warhammer the Golden Age. This is battle report number 38. It is a 2,000 point battle that is fought between myself as well as my friend Brother Grimm. My friend Brother Grimm is playing the Crooked Moonz of the Night Goblins versus my Fellhold Nations Dwarf Army. So if you guys have been watching on our channel, you know we've been working on our dwarf army for the studio. We're trying to accomplish a 3,000 point dwarf army, and right now up to this point I've gotten 2,000 points of it fully painted up. So now that my dwarves are painted up to 2,000 points, it's time to put these guys on the battlefield, test them to see exactly how the army works, because in this studio we believe in painting up our armies before we actually play them for our Warhammer Fantasy battle reports. So I'm very excited to do this battle report because the first time I'm using dwarves, also the first time I'm actually playing dwarves. And this one also is kind of like a special one for me because my friend Brother Grimm and his wife, as well as my other friends Warlord Ace and Sister Serial, they actually bought up a large portion of this dwarf army for me to use on our trip to Boston a couple of years back. So I'm really excited about using that one for this one. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for the battle report, go and pause and take a look at your own leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Valor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Alright, so as you can see here, we're playing on a 4x6 table. The scenario rules for this one is pretty simple. It's just a normal battle lines type battle report. 12-inch deployment zones, 24 inches across from one another. Playing on a 4x6 table. Pretty much last army standing wins. We, of course, typical victory point rules apply as always for the 8th edition of Warhammer. And as you can see, my friend Brother Grimm is deployed on the near side of the table, while my army is deployed on the far side of the table. So with the scenario rules over with, let's go and take an overhead shot of the battlefield and talk about what the battle plan is for this one. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the battlefield. Let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. So as you can see, I'm deployed on the far side of the table, and I've kind of gone for a denied flank type of deployment, just occupying that top left-hand corner. I've done that for two reasons. One, I'm playing dwarves, so because of that, I have to play very defensively. Dwarves don't move very quickly at all. I think they only have a movement allowance of 3 inches, so because of that, going on the offense isn't really an option for my army. Dwarf armies are designed to be played defensively, and the way that I run my army is very much a gunline type of army. I got 2 units of shooting elements and a lot of war machines. So as you can see there, what my plan is kind of castle up right in the upper hand corner, make my opponent Brother Grimm march his goblins across the battlefield. As he does that, I plan to whittle him down with some long range fire for both my crossbows, my thunderers, as well as my war machines. And then hopefully by the time he catches up to me, I can either do a charge against his enemy and then like finish him off that way, or make him charge to me and then of course fight defensively and just beat it through attrition, because dwarves are a great tar pinning unit because of all the armor saves they have and the high toughness. And that's pretty much the plan I'm going with. It's kind of a simple plan, not all flashy or all that spectacular. It's kind of basic, but you know, I'm playing dwarves, and so that's what we do. So with the battle plan over with, we go directly to the deployment. Alright, so let's go and talk about deployment real quick for the Orcs and Goblins. On the left-hand side, you can see that my friend Brother Grimm has deployed 2 of his units. On the left-hand side, those are Dim Bone Breakers. That is a unit, I'm sorry, Doze Bow Breakers, that's the name of the unit. It is a Squig Herd. He's got 18 K-Squigs as well as 6 Squig Herders there on the left-hand side, so I'm pretty worried about those guys because K-Squigs are very brutal in close combat. And on the right-hand side, those are the Backstabbers. Those are the unit of 20 Night Goblins with a Standard Bearer, their armor short bows, and they have 3 Fanatics in that unit, so I'm kind of worried about those guys because fanatics, of course, ignore armor saves, and the only thing I have protecting my dwarves is their high toughness value, which everyone knows you don't want to rely on your skin against attacks if armor will help you out. So that makes the left-hand deployment for this one. In the center of the battlefield is where he has majority of his units. Up in front is the Ludas. That has a huge unit of 34 Night Goblins armed with spears as well as shields. Up in the front he has Skarsnik, the Warlord of the Eight Peaks. That is the Warlord of the, that is the special character who is also the general of this army as well. He's located in that unit. He also has his Battle Standard Bearer, Hobgob the Stinga, which is the Battle Standard Bearer. He has the Spider Banner, I believe is what he has, which gives this unit poison attacks. So these guys will be very, very deadly, especially get in close combat because they're in a horde formation that can dish out a lot of attacks. Right behind them are them Kamikaze boys. Those are two Doomdiver catapults, which are very, very dangerous because just like fanatics, they ignore armor saves, so that's kind of kind of bad for my army. And on the right hand side, those are the those sneaky gits. That is a unit of 20 Night Goblins armed with short bows. They have a standard bearer in that unit as well as 3 fanatics as well, and that makes up the center area for my enemy's deployment zone. And finally, on his right-hand deployment, he has his spiders. On the right-hand side is the Death Creepers. That's a unit of 12 Forest Goblin Spider Riders, armed with spears, shields, short bows, and as well as spiders. So my opponent decided not to Vanguard up with his Spider Riders, which kind of makes sense because he doesn't want to get them shot off the table right off the turn. And then right behind him, that is a Arachnarok Spider. On the top is a level 4 wizard. That is the 8 is what they're called. He's got a level 4 caster with the Catchwhip Spider Shrine, as well as a channeling staff and a talisman of protection. So very, very dangerous unit to face there on the right hand side. So with the deployment done for the Orcs and Goblins, we go across the table to my deployment area. So up in the top left-hand corner is my deployment. My entire army is located right there in the corner because that's what dwarves do. Starting in the back there, I have my 3 war machines. This is the Clan Eld. They are my war machine crews. On the left-hand side is my cannon that has a burning rune as well as a rune of accuracy. So that way it has flaming shots. That one is called the Sorrows of Eld. That is my war machine there. Right in the center is my grudge thrower, the Rememberer. It's got the rune of penetrating on it. And on the right-hand side there is my organ gun. That is the Decemberist of Winter's Past. It has a rune of accuracy on it, so a little war machine hill right there on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, that is Clan Eastmere the Vengeful. That is my unit of 18 Quarrelers of full command. Excuse me. In the center is Clan Rotostalker, the Cursed Company, which is a huge unit of 37 dwarves. Sorry, not 37, 38 dwarves in that unit, armed with hand weapons as well as shield. They also have full command as well. In that unit, I also have my characters. I have Ragnar the Spellbreaker, which is my Runesmith on the left-hand side. He's got the rune of Spellbreaking, just one of them. Excuse me. In the middle is my general, that is Lord Ivar Bodison, the Lord of Lost Holds. He is a dwarf lord and a shield bearer. He has a rune of parrying for his hand weapon. He's also got 2 runes of iron and 1 rune of iron and 2 runes of fortitude. So he has additional wounds as well as toughness. So he's the unkillable lord choice that you can make using the runes. And on the right hand side with that giant bee banner for the clan, that is my Yorick shield, Shatter Shield. That is his Battle Standard Bearer. He's also got the Master Rune of Vial on there as well. And finally on the right hand side, that is Clan Helheim, the Fallen of the Dragonbacks, which is 18 Quarrelers with full command. I forgot to mention, on my Quarrelers on the left hand side, they're equipped with great weapons and no shields. And on the right hand side, my handgunners are armed with his hand weapon and shield as well. And that pretty much makes the deployment for the dwarves on this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top at turn number 1 and we roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 1. My friend Brother Grim gets to go first. He got the initiative for the game. The first thing he has to do for his Orcs and Goblins, of course, is take, animosity test. He takes a d6 roll for all of his units. 2 of them failed, however. His those Bone Breakers on the left-hand side, they failed their animosity test. The same thing with those Sneaky Gits on the right-hand side. They failed their animosity test as well. Pretty much for their result, they have to declare a charge to the closest enemy unit. Obviously, they're not going to be able to charge across the battlefield to make it, so they just move up half the distance of their charge rolls to the areas that are located there. So that's the beginning with the animosity test for my opponent. So with the animosity test done, we go directly to the move phase, and as you can see, my opponent just starts moving as quickly as he can across the battlefield to try to engage me. He is playing Orcs and Goblins, so if they're just lingering in the battlefield, they're not doing their jobs correctly. The first thing he does is, of course, he doesn't declare any charges because there is no need for it, but he does march move all of his forces forward. The first thing he does is he moves up them backstabbers on the left-hand side to that autumn forest there on the left-hand side. He also marches up his looters as well to match the same distance, so that way they're kind of like in a line formation between those forests. At the same time, he also marches up his Death Creepers on the right hand side, moves them up so that way they have like a good little flanking position on the right hand side, and he also marches up the 8x8 in order to lend support on the right hand side as well. And that pretty much makes up his move phase on this one. Here's a close-up of the left hand of his army, taking up defensive positions along the terrain there, so try to take some cover so that way they don't get shot off the table by war machines. And here's a close-up of the right-hand half of his army. You can see the sneaky gets, they charge forward right to where that forest is. At the same time, the 8x8 as well as the Death Creepers creep up on the right-hand side, trying to outflank me. And if you notice, his Arachnarok Spider is right but not behind that forest. That way he gets some additional cover from being shot at as well. And so with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So in the magic phase, my opponent really doesn't have much of luck trying to get off his spells, and the reason why is because of the number of dispel bonuses I get from my army. I get +2 dispel because they're dwarves, but because I also have the Master Rune of Viola on my Battle Center Bear, that brings my total dispel value up to 4, which is pretty good. It's kind of like I have a level 4 wizard to stop magic spells from going off. So because I was able to dispel most of his spells, I believe he tried to cast Vengeful Gaze, the magic missile spell from his 8x8, but I was able to stop that. And I believe he's also trying to cast, I forgot the other one, Gift of the Spider God. He was trying to cast that off onto his Forest Goblins there on the right hand side for Spider Riders, but I was able to stop that spell too. I wasn't able to stop Night Shroud, which he casts on his Shaman on top of the Ragnarok Spider. He doesn't go for the big one, he just goes for the small one to do it. I was just unable to defeat his magical casting roll when he rolled for that spell. So because that Ragnarok Spider is now in soft cover and also receives the benefits thereof. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. As you see in this photo, the shooting phase is kind of lackluster for my opponent as well. He does open up with his Forest Goblins with their short bows, was unable to secure any hits, so I got pretty lucky that way. Same thing with his Doomdiver catapults. He aims both of his catapults onto the Decemberists of Winter's Pass, my organ gun, on the top of that hill. The first shot goes way off. I think he goes like 10 inches off his original course, and I think he rolled a 1 to correct, so because of that, he doesn't able to hit anything. But the second one, though, he does try to hit the Decemberists, but once again, I think he rolls like a 4, I think is what he rolls, so he gets off target, so he decides to go back and decide to hit Clan Roadstalker instead, managed to kill 4 of my Dwarf Warriors. And the reason why that is the case is because, as we all know, Doomdiver catapults ignore armor, which is a terrifying aspect to face against when you're dwarves. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip combat phase because no one is charged and there's no close combat, and we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the dwarves. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the movement phase for the dwarves, and as you can see in this photo, I don't move anything. I'm playing dwarves, there's no reason for me to move, plus my 2 units that have missile weapons, if they have move or shoot weaponry, so because of that, they don't move either, and plus my plan is that my opponent come directly to me. So, very, very short and simple movement phase, and because I don't have any magic, because I'm playing dwarves, we skip the magic phase, we go directly to the shooting phase. And as you can see in this photo, the shooting phase is absolutely, terrifying to see the amount of shooting I was able to get off on this one. I pretty much just take turns concentrating fire with my different war machines. Up on the, on the left-hand side, the first unit I actually go up against is the Backstabbers. I believe I opened up with my Quarrelers onto that. No, sorry, not my Quarrelers. I think I opened up with my, opened my Quarrelers onto that unit as well. So I managed to pick off a couple of guys with the Quarrelers on that unit. I did have to shoot through the forest. I do get -1 to hit, so I got off pretty lucky. I killed like a couple of, I think I killed 5 or 6 of them is what I ended up doing. But the one that really tore that unit apart, of course, was the catapult for the Grudge Thor. The Rememberer actually opens up and manages to land a successful hit right in the middle of the unit as well. Killed a bunch of goblins on that part as well, dropping down to 5 goblins in total. So because of that, he had to take a panic test, and since he only has a quarter of his forces left, he needs insane courage. Wasn't able to get that off, so those guys just flee, I think, like 11 inches to get away from the hell that's coming their way as well. On the right-hand side, I believe it was my my organ gun as well as my handgunners, of course losing bonuses. My organ gun though was a real killer. I got 14 shots off with that thing, and I used Grim Borluxon's special ability to use his ballistic skill to make that happen, so that was absolutely atrocious to see the amount of death that took place. Same thing with the shots from my Thunderers as well. They pretty much chopped that unit almost in half, is what they actually, more than half is what they actually did. But luckily for Brother Grimm though, that unit just kind of passes their panic check and nothing happens. And then also fire the Great Cannon directly at the unit of goblins. I don't aim for Skarsnik because if I fail the lookout sir roll for that one, my shot doesn't really go anywhere, so I don't really focus on them too much, but I do manage to kill 5 of them as well, is what I ended up doing with the cannon on that port, so that was pretty cool too. So with the shooting phase over with, there is no close combat because no one charged, and we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Orcs and Goblins. Alright, so we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the movement phase for Orcs and Goblins, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. The first thing he does, he has to take his animosity test, and all of his units pass, so because that goes directly to normal movement. He doesn't declare any charges this round, but he does march his units forward again. As you can see on the left hand side, he moves up those Bone Breakers as well as the Ludas and those Sneaky Gits on the left hand side, moves them up into position so that way they can start releasing their Fanatics before he starts charging in to close up the combat. On the right hand side, he also marches up the Eightful Eight as well as the Death Creepers, moving them to the right hand side, giving them pretty good access to my right hand flank so that way we can charge directly into the Clan Helheim, the Fallen, of the Dragonbacks. So that's kind of like how he's kind of going like for this U shape where he's trying to go after my flanks as well as my front. Here's a close-up of his infantry forces on the left-hand side, moving up forward to get ready to release their Fanatics when they get close enough, as well as getting ready to charge the center lines of my army. And here's a close-up of his right-hand flank with the Eightful Eight and the Death Creepers getting ready to charge into the right-hand flank of my army, which will be very devastating because I have no way of, stopping him from doing that unless I end up shooting those units off using war machines. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And once again for the magic phase, he was largely unable to get off any of his spells because I kept on dispelling them with my rolls, so that part was kind of cool. However, he did get off the Gift of the Spider God ability onto his unit of Spider Riders, so because of that, the giant spiders now have +1 to their poison attacks, which means now they cause poison attacks on rolls of 5 up as well, so that'll be extremely devastating if they charge me in the right hand flank, which means that unit of Spider Riders is going to be the unit I focus on for my next round of shooting because I don't want those guys into my right hand flank because that would be bad. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And this time around, the shooting phase was a little bit more successful for my buddy, Brother Grimm. He concentrates fires with the Eightful Eight as well as the Death Creepers into Clan Helheim on the right-hand flank. I think he managed to kill 3 of those dwarves. 2 of them were from poison attacks, and I believe one of them was just a lucky hit is what it was. So because I do lose a couple of Thunderers, at the same time, he also launches his Doomdiver catapults. One goes way off target, wasn't able to hit anything. I think he rolled like a 10 again, so because they scattered too far to do anything. At the same time, though, the other one does manage to land and directly hit my Decemberist of Winter's Past, able to put a wound on my organ gun, so that was pretty devastating as well. So with shooting phase over with, there is no close combat because nobody charged. We go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Dwarves. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for movement phase for the Dwarves, and as you can see in this photo, I don't do any movement because I'm Dwarves. Dwarves don't need to move, I'm not coming to you, you gotta come to me, is pretty much how it's gonna work. And plus, since my missile troops are move or fire, there is no point for me to move those guys because then they won't be able to shoot during the shooting phase. So because of that pretty uneventful movement phase, I don't have any magic, so we skip the magic phase and we go directly to the shooting phase. Alright, so when it comes to the shooting phase, the first thing I do is I take aim with my organ gun. I use Grimlock Burluxon's accuracy once again to help with the ballistic skills on that one. I have that unit focus fire directly onto that unit of Spider Riders for the Death Creepers. I think I got 14 shots off was what I ended up doing with that organ gun. Just totally obliterated that unit of Spider Riders. So those guys get thrown right off the table. Just blew those guys halfway to hell. Now, if you'll notice, in the top of the title, did say oops on it. And the reason why is because my friend Brother Grimm and I, we both made a mistake when it came to killing the Eightful Eight. I concentrate fire with the cannonball as well as cannon from the cannonball. I take fire with my cannon and fire a cannonball at the Eightful Eight. Managed to put, I think, 6 wounds onto the Eightful Eight as well. And this is where we made our mistake. The mistake we made is when we fired my grudge thrower. My grudge thrower did manage to clip it and managed to hit on the top of it with directly a direct blast right on the top of it. So that part was kind of nice. But the thing that we made a mistake on is when it came to the rules for the wounds. We forgot that the Goblin Shaman as well as the Ragnarok Spider, they have two different wound characteristics. Unfortunately, I guess because we've just been playing too much Age of Sigmar, we thought that once you killed the monster, that was it. That unit died. So technically speaking, he should have his Shaman still left on the board, but we didn't, take that into account. We just kind of treated the entire thing as one wound, one unit carrying one set of wounds on that. So we made a mistake on that part too there. So I know I made a mistake. I didn't catch the rule mistake. My friend Brother Grimm, he didn't catch the rule mistake either. So we do make a mistake on that part, but we apologize because it's been a while since we played Warhammer. But anyways, short story, a long story being short, killed both the Ragnarok Spider as well as his Spider Riders on the right hand side. So that just pretty much cleaned those guys out. So with that being said, I do concentrate fire with my missile troops. I open up with Clan Helheim first onto the sneaky gits over there on the right hand side. I just managed to whittle that unit down to 4 guys. Brought those guys to less than 25% of their unit. So because of that, when they take their panic check, they have to make snake eyes or they don't make it. As you can see in this photo, they failed both their tests for leadership. The first one they lost, they got the battle center buried within range. So they test again and were unable to do it. I think he rolled like 9 inches for these guys to flee, so they go through the forest. And I believe he also lost one more goblin as he went through that forest as well to data train tests. From running away. I also forgot to take a photo of the other unit, which is my Quarrelers. Clan Izmir opens up with their crossbows onto the looters. I think I managed to kill 7 of those guys as well. So when you look at the next photo of the moon phase, you'll notice a couple of the goblins missing from the looters, and that's because I forgot to take the picture of that unit getting shot at with crossbows. And that pretty much makes it my turn, because there is nobody engaged in close combat. We go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Orcs and Goblins. Alright, so now we're back to the top of turn number 3 for the Orcs and Goblins. The first thing my friend has to do is take Animosity Test, which of course he does pass, and we go directly to the moon phase. And the first thing he does, of course, is declare a charge with those Bone Breakers. Managed to do a long bar charge. I think he rolled like 14 inches when he ended up rolling for his charging total. So because of that, those Night Goblins with their Squig Herders, they just fly across the battlefield directly into Clan Izmir. So because of that, my Quarrelers are now engaged in close combat. I do, of course, do a stand and shoot reaction to it. I only managed to kill 3 of the cave squigs in the process of doing that, so that was pretty much lackluster, but get what I can get at the same time. At the same time, he also moves at the looters. I think he moves them up 2 inches forward, and the reason why he does that is because that puts him within 8 inches of my unit of Clan Roadsucker, and then of course that pops the Fanatics. As you can see in that photo, the Fanatics fly forward. One of them does go through my unit. I believe it kills 3 or 4 of my Dwarf Warriors, but that's okay because I have 40 of them, so it's okay if I lose a couple of them. He does fly through that unit, but hits the hill. So because of Fanatic rolls, once he hits a terrain piece, he gets splatted. The other 2 Fanatics, crazy if you can believe it or not, they actually rolled 5 inches, both of them, and they landed exactly right in front, 3 inches just short of my Clan Roadsucker. So that part was pretty crazy as well. Also, if you notice as well, you can see how the unit of the looters have been chopped down a little bit. Like I said before, I forgot to take photos of it during the shooting phase, but that's the reason why a couple of looters are missing in this photograph. And that pretty much makes the move phase for turn number 3. Here's a close-up of the movement phase. As you can see, I killed 3 cave squigs from those Bone Breakers, so that part was kind of cool. And you can also see how I lost a couple of dwarves from the back rank there for Clan Roadsucker. And you can also see the other 2 fanatics just kind of chilling out right there in the middle. So with the move phase over with, we skip the magic phase because there's no magic phase, unfortunately for my opponent, and we go directly to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, he opens up with his first Doom Diver Catapult, and unfortunately for him, my friend Brother Grimm, he rolls a misfire. When he rolls a d6 to see what happens, he rolls a 1, so because of that, the Kamikaze boy on the left-hand side just explodes and atomizes, so that part's kind of sad. However, the second Doom Diver Catapult hits a direct hit onto the Decemberist of Winter's Pass, and not only that, when he rolls to see the number of hits he gets, he rolls 6, and he also gets 6 hits against that, but not only that, but all 6, not only do he gets 6 hits, but all 6 of those hits also wound as well. Goes right through the toughness of my Decemberist, and my Decemberist just explodes and kills the entire crew as well. He went megaton on that hit as well, so because of that, I do lose my organ gun, which is kind of sad. So, with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to close combat. And close combat, oh my god, it was absolutely crazy to see how much damage these two units did to one another. I forgot to mention, at the beginning of the battle, when I rolled for my Ancestral Grudge to see what I would get for a result, I rolled a 5, so because that my entire army hates my opponent's army. At the same time, since my buddy Brother Grimm is playing Night Goblins also have hatred towards Dwarves, which means in the first round of combat they can reroll misses for both sides, so it was absolutely atrocious to see the amount of damage that took place. As you can see in this photo, he almost cuts down a third of my Quarlers with his cave squigs, because cave squigs in close combat are no joke whatsoever. And then of course I get to fight back because I'm using great weapons. I also kind of cut this unit down to almost to half of its original size as well. At the end of it, my opponent not only with the charging and the ranks as well as the wounds, and same thing with me, the number of wounds I dish out as well as having a rank and a banner. I end up with a combat score of 10 while he ends up with a combat score of 9. I do beat him by 1, but he does manage to stick it out because I believe, yes, what ended up happening, he only got the 1 point missing and he was within range of his general, so they're not going anywhere. These guys will continue fighting. The nice part about it is, though, is that their hatred rules for both sides are used up at this point, but man, it was just brutal seeing these guys just, take it to each other in the combat phase. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Dwarves. So this is the bottom of turn number 3 for the Dwarves. There is no movement because I'm really afraid of those fanatics. My plan was to let my opponent come to me as quick as he could, and then my plan was to charge across the battlefield to get into, finish him off that way. But because he has those 2 fanatics there, I'm really not looking forward to taking 2d6 strength 5 hits with no armor saves against those fanatics. So because of that, I do hesitate. I don't move my forces forward either. And because of that, I keep my thunders exactly where they are as well, because there's no sense for me to charge across the battlefield to face those goblins if I don't have my huge horde of clan road soaker to back them up. So because of that, I don't do anything. I just kind of stand my ground. At the same time, you can see on the left hand side, Clan Izmir is still engaged in close combat with those bone breakers, so they're not going anywhere either. And here's a close-up of Clan Izmir, the Vengeful, against those bone breakers, and they're still engaged in close combat. I'm kind of excited to see what will happen in the next combat phase, because these guys are just tearing into each other during the last combat phase, which is really cool. So with the movement phase over with, I skip magic because I'm a dwarf and I'm a real man's army, so we don't use magic. We go directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in the shooting phase, I take aim with the Great Cannon and open up. I decide to shoot directly in front of Skarsnik because my plan is to go through him. I do have a 50-50 chance of not hitting him because of the Lookout Sir roll, but it was a risk I was willing to take. And unfortunately for my buddy Brother Grimm, when he rolled for his Lookout Sir roll, he rolled a 1. So because of that, Skarsnik takes a cannonball directly to the face, managed to put 5 wounds onto that guy. Now, under any normal circumstances, on any normal Night Goblin war boss would have been killed outright, but this is Skarsnik, the Warlord of the 8 Peaks. He has 6 wounds on his profile, so he only has 1 wound remaining, but that guy is still alive, which is actually kind of crazy to see that happening. The cannonball, of course, bounces through 2 more goblins as well and kill those 2 guys as well, so the unit's a little bit shorter. It's not down to a quarter of his normal size yet, but it's close. It's getting close to making that happen. So with the rest of the shooting phase, of course, didn't really work out. I tried to open up with my handgunners, but unfortunately, I rolled like a couple of shots and I failed to wound. I just fumbled my rolls really, really bad. Same thing with the artillery dice for my grudge thrower. I didn't really hit anything there because I went way off course with my grudge thrower. I can't really complain though because it hit directly twice, which is awesome. So kudos to that. But other than that, though, not much really happens in the shooting phase. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, man, these guys just turn into each other once again. I managed to kill 4? Yeah, I think that's, I'm sorry, I only killed 3. I killed 3 cave squids. In exchange, he also killed 4 of my dwarves as well, so Clan Izmir and as well as the Barbreakers are still fighting it out. I end up with a combat score of 4 and end up with a combat score of 5, so I actually lose this combat, but I make my break test because I'm right next to my general and my clan of dwarves is going nowhere. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Orcs and Goblins. So in the top of turn number 4, the first thing we have to do is roll for the Fanatics to see exactly what happens to those guys. And as you can see in this photo, I just wanted to let you see this real quick, all right? The Fanatics, both of those guys, we rolled to see where these guys are going for what random move they're going with. Both of them rolled going left, all right? So that's the crazy part. That's the crazy coincidence there. The second thing they rolled is how many inches they go for. They both rolled 6s. One rolled 4 and 2, and the other one rolled, I think, 3 and 3. And that was absolutely nuts to see that both these Fanatics were the same direction at the same amount of distance as well. And they cut right through the Bone Breakers as well as Clan Izmir, which are engaged in close combat. So because of that, we decided to roll a d6 to see exactly where they will go, what kind where will the hits all go? Will they go into my dwarves, or will they go into the cave squigs? So because that, we decided to roll a d6 for each one of those hits that we got. As you can see, that we rolled 7 hits. The hits were going to go, and the idea was that if the die rolls came out 1 through 3, they'd hit the night goblins. On a 4 up, that hit me. And as you can see in those dice right there, they all came up 1s, 2s, and 3s, which means all those fanatic hits stay exactly inside the cave squigs, which is absolutely atrocious. It just kind of wiped that unit out, just busted it down back to its basic elements at that point. So that was horrific to see that happen. And I didn't get a chance to take a photo of this. That's why it's kind of blurry, if you'll notice, because my friend just wanted to keep on going because he's starting to sense defeat in the water, so he just wanted to keep on going past that port. And the second thing he decides to do is to charge forward with Skarsnik as well as the Ludas directly into my clan Roadstalker, because he's sensing the end and he just kind of wants to get the battle done with, because, you know, it's almost close to an end as well. And that's why this photo is also kind of blurry too. I do apologize for that part. So because he has no magic, we skip the magic phase. We don't go into shooting because his shot for his Doomdiver catapult misses, and we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this photo, we had no problem killing off that unit. The first thing my buddy Brother Grimm does, he issues a challenge with Skarsnik against my general. So Lord Ivar Bodison as well as Skarsnik go at it. Skarsnik's attacks tried to land on my general, but unfortunately was unable to hit any of them pretty well. I just had too much high of a toughness at this point, so I wasn't able to do anything. And of course, Lord Ivar Bodison had no problem just smashing his axe directly into the fort as Skarsnik of the Warlord of the Eight Peaks and managed to kill him as well. Clan Eaters me on the left-hand side, they managed to kill off the last remaining few goblins that were left from the squig herd, and so because of that, combat phase is absolutely brutal for my buddy Brother Grimm. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that takes directly to the end of the game. As you can see, almost all the goblin forces are completely off the table. The only thing that my buddy has left is his lone Doomdiver catapult right in the back part of his army. And that pretty much sums it up at this point, because my buddy Brother Grimm just kind of calls the game at this point. So once again, this is a very awesome battle report. I was really happy with the results of it. It was really nice using my dwarf army again for the very first time for a battle report. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report, because this battle report is now officially over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king.
Hail to the king, baby.
Alright people, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for Warhammer the Golden Age, battle report number 38, and it being a victory for yours truly. So let's go talk about the losses real quick. I lost the Decembers of Winter's Past, which was my organ gun. My friend Brother Grimm, however, he lost Skarsnik, the Warlord of the Eight Peaks, the Eightful Eight, Hobgob the Stinga, the Ludas, those Sneaky Gits, them Backstabbers, those Bone Breakers, the Death Creepers, and one Kamikaze Boy. He pretty much lost his entire army. In the end, dwarves are no joke whatsoever. They are the kings of long-range firepower and high toughness, in my opinion. And not to mention that, I also managed to completely control the magic phase on this battle report as well, because I had such boosts with the dispel bonuses that I had from both the army, from their natural magic resistance, as well as the Master Rune of Vialis. So that was really, really helpful. My opponent was able to get any of his spells off, which really helped out as well. And yeah, I do realize that we did make a mistake with that level 4 Goblin Shaman. We shouldn't really have killed him off, because we only killed his mount, not the wizard itself, because we both made that mistake. But to be honest with you guys, if that Goblin Shaman still stuck around, I don't think he would have still been able to help, because of all the dispel that I had to kind of stop all this stuff from going off. In the end, the real killers in this army wasn't really my infantry fighting forces, it was the war machines that I had at my disposal, as well as my Quarlers and Thunderers. Those guys really whittled down the opponents, so by the time that the goblins caught up to me, there wasn't really many of them left, and by the time I engaged in close combat, I was able to finish them off pretty easily. Dwarfs are extremely tough to kill, and hatred in this battle report was also a real combat factor as well. Just seeing the hatred rules being used for goblins against dwarves, the night goblins against the dwarves, was actually kind of cool to see that happen. And vice versa with Ancestral Grudge. It was pretty devastating to see that combat, especially that combat on the left hand side of the battlefield between my Quarlers and those cave squigs. And speaking of cave squigs, I still fear those things, because cave squigs are the stuff of nightmares, because those things will eat you alive without a second thought. It was actually kind of interesting to see those cave squigs start gobbling up my Quarlers like they were doing, because that was pretty scary as well. Once again, this was an excellent game against an awesome opponent, and I'm looking forward to the rematch, playing with these dwarves once again. And of course, this goes out a special thank you to once again to the Boston crew. That's Sister Serial, Warlord Ace, Brother Grimm, as well as Lady Domina. The 4 of you guys who bought a majority of this army for me when we went to our trip to Boston all those years ago. It was a real pleasure to finally paint this army up, to field it, and to finally paint it, and to also play it as well in the battle report. So once again, you guys, thank you very much for the gift that we got from those years ago. You guys rock, and I love you guys. As always, you guys, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is available, so as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as blogger.com for all latest and greatest news about the hobby on our channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. You guys stay classy. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.